I just want to introduce Melissa Manzi. She is the counselor for the college, as well as oversees our student success grant. And I'm just going to hand it over to her. Take it. You're muted, Melissa.
Oh, humor. Hi, Ian. Hi, Krista. My name is Melissa Manzi, and I am the college mental health counselor on campus. I'm a licensed clinician, and I provide counseling to all students, and I am doing it remotely, in person, and by phone. So whatever works for you. And sometimes students also are looking for referrals to outside agencies, and I certainly help them with that. Or maybe a longer term therapist, which that's probably difficult right now. So I try to be that in between person until you can get in to see someone. So just to let you know, these services are available. I'm very easy to get in touch with. I'll put my stuff in the chat later, but it's basically an email to me. And you just ask for an appointment and we can get you in pretty quickly. So today what I want to talk about though is self-care. And, you know, I try to look at things that are easy to do and things that you can incorporate in your day-to-day life. So I'm going to first see if my screen share works and see if we can get started with a very short clip from one of my favorite people. And oh, wait a minute. Do I have to do something special to the sound? Anywhere, Gaurav?
Usually when you share screen, there's a button, there's a box that says share computer sound. So
okay.
off the screen share and start it again and make sure to check that box.
Okay, I think I might have done it. Okay, it came up on the other one.
This is just this isn't even a major question about the subject, but just the show. Was this the show which the last episode ended with them in jail? I think.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, no, overall, I think Seinfeld ended the last episode that was them going to jail or something like that.
Yeah, the last episode was, but yeah. I don't think this is that episode.
Oh, okay.
No, I know it's not that episode. I'm asking if this was just a series.
Yes.
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 Because
so let me know if you hear the music, okay? Or hear the sound.
Okay.
Hey guys, I want to make a toast.
We can hear it.
Okay.
Here's to those who wish us well, and those who don't can go to hell. All right, who's dancing? Come on, who's dancing? You want me to get it started? I'll get it started.
Sweet, fancy Moses.
And so I play that, or I do that one for one reason only. I found it funny. Did you guys find it funny? Did it make you laugh?
Cringeworthy.
Yes. So that is
like watching a train crash. It's terrible, but you can't look away.
So humor is something we don't always think about for self-care, but it is one of the quickest ways to lift our mood. It does hit a hormone in our brain that helps us. So when I work with someone who might be depressed, I actually might say to them, you know what, why don't you, before you go to bed at night, and when you wake up in the morning, watch 10 minutes of something that you find really, really funny. And the reason why is because it does help with our mood. It's something most of us can find easily on YouTube or streaming or whatever that is, and we can do it quickly. And so after years of working with college students who are really busy, finding quick things to do, but on a regular basis, can make a difference in your mood. And so that's why I always go to humor, because I think it's one of the easiest things to do for yourself and enjoyable too. So I'm now going to see if I can share my PowerPoint, which I can. Everyone can see that?
Yep.
Thank you. And all right. So I'm going to briefly go through this PowerPoint. I'll go through it pretty quickly because I want to do some things for you. But, you know, this is what it's about. It's about letting go of stress. But it doesn't mean all the stress, because in actuality, stress does make us do things. And we're going to talk about that. But even that picture, so they've done a lot of studies on how being in nature, looking at things in nature, can take down your stress levels. And in particular, and I'm not sure why, looking at trees is very calming. So one thing that you might think about is, hey, can I go sit someplace when I'm feeling really stressed? Can I get myself outside and just look at nature? Or can I imagine it? And that's when we'll talk about guided imagery, how that might be a technique to use. So we're going to go through this very quickly because I think most of you are probably familiar with this. There are two kinds of stress, and one is good stress. And that's a stress really of excitement. You're a little nervous, but you're excited. It's stress. You know, you're getting ready for your wedding day. You're going to go to the big job. But it's a good type of stress. And then there are other types of stress that we know is bad stress. And so these adjectives here, anger, fear, despair, panic, worry, these are all different things you might experience when you're stressed. You might look at those and relate to that. You might add some on to that. And then there's some stress that's actually short-lived. So it happens really quick. And the best example is you're seeing the siren behind you, you're going to be getting pulled over, and your body immediately, you start to feel it. You start to feel your heart, you start to get hot. You know, that's a very quick stress. But there's another type of stress, and that is chronic stress. And that's a type of stress that we really want to take a look at because it does have lasting physical effects on us. And so it might be that you've been in a job that has stressed you out for a very long time, or maybe it's your marriage or financially, or perhaps you have chronic pain and that causes you a lot of stress. So when we define stress, which many people do from lots of different disciplines, there is commonality, a loss of emotional control, the inability to cope with problems, wear and tear on the body, absence of inner peace, you don't feel calm within, and any change you encounter in your life. And it's interesting with change and stress, sometimes we use that interchangeably because when we are going through changes in our life, transitions, that's many times the most stressful time. And so there is a definition that's agreed by many, is a perceived threat, real or imagined, to one's mind, body, spirit, or emotions. What's important about that is the perceived, because you actually go through the same stressful reactions, whether it's real or not. So you might think something is happening and maybe it's not, but the stress level is going to be the same. And that's really important to remember. So one of the things I talk to students about is to identify your stressors. And the reason why that's important is because you really do need to know your hints of what is making you feel more stressed out, things that you already know that are going to cause you stress. You want to know about that because then you can do stuff ahead of time. And the reason why I show this next slide is because, well, first of all, I love Mark Twain and I love this quote. I'm an old man now. I've known a great many problems in my life, most of which never happened. So I show this quote after knowing what your triggers are, because you have to make sure that what you are stressing about is actually something that's going to happen. We spend a lot of time in this gray area of worry, and we worry about an event that might never actually happen. And I think this is very common with many of us. You know, you get to that point and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't need to worry about it. It didn't happen. But we spent so much time and energy there. And that's why it's important that we really check our thoughts, and I will talk about that in a little bit, to make sure that what we're thinking is true and that we have the evidence that it is true, because you're going to be better off if you do that. So, we talk about the fight or flight response, and also freeze, which I did not put on this, but it should be there. So that is what we do to survive. We've been doing it for a long time. Back in caveman days, when you had to run from the saber-toothed tiger, you had to respond. And that is the physical stressors coming out in your body to do you good. And so, unfortunately, we don't go away from this. We don't have the saber-toothed tiger anymore. We're not in constant physical threat like we used to be, but we use this in our emotional spirit stress. And that still produces the same response that we needed physically, but we really don't need that emotionally. And why that's a problem is because it does affect our body in other ways. And so we look at what we call the stress hormones, and I'm not going to pronounce all of these, but these are all the different hormones that get released when you're in that stress response. And they're released for a reason. They want to increase your heart rate, increase your blood pressure, increase the rate of breathing, muscle tension, you perspire, increase your metabolic activity. But these are all things that happen to you physically for you to survive. It's a good thing. The problem is we still have all these things when it's not a physical danger, and then it works for us in a different way. We know that stress and the hormones can cause hypertension, chronic pain, suppressed immune system, colds and flus, symptoms of disease, illness, general sense of fatigue, insomnia, depression. And this is really interesting. 80% of visits to primary care are due to chronic stress. It's what's happening from the stress you've been experiencing comes out physically. You end up going to the doctor. And now we do know that there is a direct causal link. They've done a lot of research on this, which that's just boom, 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 boom. So this specific quote is actually from this individual named Brian Luke Seward. He actually gives you permission to use his PowerPoint, which I am. And this is one of his quotes. He's been working in this field for probably 25 years plus. And ultimately, the body becomes the battlefield for the war games of the mind. And so that's really saying so much of our physical stressors or our physical ailments are coming out from the stuff that's in our mind. And that's why it's important to do things on a daily basis to handle that. And so I see this quite a bit with my students. So anger is a fight emotion, fear is the flight. So when they get in a very distressing situation, the person might respond by becoming really angry. Some people would say, oh, boys, their fuse, short. Or they become very fearful and they actually walk away. They don't want to be involved at all. Both are high with anxiety. When we're feeling really anxious, a lot of times we respond to someone in this anger because we're feeling so anxious, or we're feeling so fearful, we don't respond at all. We leave the situation. And again, they've linked this to many other physical health issues and why it's important to get a handle on it. So we need to talk about how do we cope with stress, and we will never not have stress. And that's what we need to actually accept. Again, a lot of research around this. When they have followed individuals who accept stress as part of life, they actually cope much better with stress than individuals who believe they shouldn't have any stress at all. So it's something we need to say, you know what? College is stressful. I've got a lot going on. I'm going to accept this, but it doesn't mean I can't manage it, it doesn't mean I can bring it down a little bit. And so one of the things I focus on every time with the student when I meet with them is I ask them how they're sleeping. Sleep is the primary focus if you are starting to feel stressed out, you're feeling tired, you feel like you can't handle everything. Many times a student thinks they should sleep less because they're so busy and they don't have time to study. And that's actually should be the opposite. Not that you should be sleeping all the time, but you should get a very solid, good, solid amount of sleep so that everything in your body that you need to keep you healthy and manage that stress is actually done during sleep. And so your body's replenished during sleep. So if you can get 6 hours of solid sleep, and why I say 6 and not 7 to 8 is because 1, you're a college student, you might not have time, but 2, research shows a shorter amount of sleep uninterrupted is actually better than longer sleep, but you're getting up. So let's say, which is very common, something I hear in my office all the time is, yeah, I went to bed at 10, but then I'm up at 3 and I can't go back to sleep, or it takes me a long time to go back to sleep. And I'll work with the student on that sleep hygiene piece. But one of the things I might suggest is maybe go to bed later and have a shorter amount of sleep, but that you're not waking up. So there's a little mantra, and believe me, we all have different things that work for us when we want to go to sleep. Having a small bit of protein before you go to sleep is actually a really great idea. Turning off your screens an hour, these are sleep hygiene, but an hour before you go to bed. Making sure that in your bedroom where you sleep, that your brain really knows this place is just for me to sleep. If you're doing everything in that bed other than sleep, the brain doesn't quite match that up. And so it's really important to make your environment just where you sleep. And so there's a lot that we can do in that area. I always tell students, if you had a bedtime routine when you were a kid, maybe think of creating your own bedtime routine. Maybe that's, hey, I'm going to take a hot shower, a warm bath. I'm going to stop all my screens. I'm going to journal before I go to bed. I'm going to do something relaxing. So you're kind of calming your body down. And this mantra, don't think, this is an interesting mantra that I had heard on a webinar, and it's what the armed services use to train their new peeps, and they have them repeat this mantra over and over and over again, which is don't think. And so it's something you might want to try. Some people count. They count. I'm a counter. I might count until 100 or wherever, but I just keep counting and it becomes very methodical for me. But whatever that is, trying to get the sleep, I would say, is probably the most important thing you can do for yourself to be able to manage stress and keep yourself healthy. The other thing I talk a lot about is food. And the reason why I talk about this so much is because we know that, inflammation in our body, we've heard a lot about it. We've talked a lot about the high protein, low sugar diets. It's in the news quite a bit, but not as much for the brain. And what we actually know is that there's inflammation in the brain too. And so anything you can do to reduce the inflammation is going to be to your benefit. So that's the same as the rest of your body. Your brain is the largest organ in your body. It's going to be responding the same way that you are taking nutrition in other areas of your body. So I really talk to students about the importance, one, of protein, and whatever form that is. It could be tofu, fish, eggs, chicken, whatever form that is. Those actually include our B vitamins. And for women in particular, this really affects our mood. So when you think about what are my coping skills, the reason why I talk about sleep and food, because these are things you can actually do with your own body. You don't have to step far out. Look at yourself. What am I doing? What am I putting in my body? The other thing I talk a lot about is movement. And I do not put the word exercise anymore, because as soon as I say exercise, students think that, oh, I need to go to the gym. But that's not the case. you could do, and they talk about this quite a bit in the news, you can do a 30-minute walk a day, but it doesn't have to be all at once. So you could get to, let's say, the college or your workplace or wherever it is, 10 minutes early and go for a 10-minute walk. And then maybe you do that 3 times a day. Or this is a game I like to do. You park as far away as possible wherever you go. And those brings you your extra steps. So we're not talking about huge amount of time to move your body, but moving your body is very, very important. We know that with depression, movement, exercise can help and help your mood. And we also know it's very helpful for anxiety. So it's just things that, I go to these 3 first because that's all things we do every day. And if you can partake in that and see areas where you can, maybe I add an hour of sleep, maybe I take away some of the high sugar foods I'm eating this week, maybe I go for a walk with a friend. These are areas that are doable and they can make a big difference. And so there are many other coping skills. We're going to talk about some of them. We're going to actually do some of them. Reframing. So this has a lot to do with your thoughts. And so I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. Cognitions are thoughts. And so I work a lot with students around their thoughts. It's actually, thoughts are much harder to work with than changing a behavior. It's much harder to change how you're thinking than to go for a walk. And so that's why I talk about behaviors quite a bit, because thoughts are far more complicated. But one of the first things you can do is reframe. So I will give you an example that happened to me this morning. It was kind of funny, not really, but I always get up at a certain time of day. My alarm goes off on my phone and I hit snooze. I never get up on the first try. It takes me 3 or 4. Except this time I didn't hit snooze. I hit the stop button. So it didn't go off. So I have a 45-minute commute. I leave my house at 7:15 and I woke up at 5:07. And of course, I'm like, oh God. And I could say, which I did, but then I had to reframe, which was, oh God, this is going to be a terrible day. I woke up this late, everything is going to be off. But then I had to step back because I need to practice what I preach. And what evidence did I have that because I woke up late, that it was going to be a terrible day? It was something I was thinking. It was something that I could let take over me and then make it a terrible day. Or I could actually take a step back and go, yes, I got up late. That does not mean I'm going to have a terrible day. There is no evidence that that is true. So I got myself ready, didn't do some things as I normally would, so I could get out the door at 7:15, which I have to say I'm very proud of myself for that. And then on my way to work, I thought, okay, I need to do something that is going to take away this harried feeling that I'm having, rushing out the door, knowing I had this workshop today. Am I going to be ready to go? And then I said, what do I do on Friday mornings? I listen to really good music on Friday mornings. It's just the way I end my week. And that's what I did. I said, no, I'm going to start doing stuff to make me feel good. So I put on my great playlist. And by the time I got to work, okay, I was late getting up, but it didn't ruin my day. And I changed, reframed how I was thinking. And so just doing these little differences in your thought process can make that one day okay. And we don't need to think the rest of my life. We need to think that day. How does that thought affect what I'm going to do right now? And so be a defense attorney to your own mind. And so when you have all these thoughts, and many of them are probably negative because that's how our brain works at times, just make sure you have the evidence that what you're thinking is true and take the time to do that. And you'll be surprised how many times you really have no evidence. But that's something I do a lot when I am working with students. So if you want to come in and talk to me more about that, I'd be glad to do that. The other coping skill, and we just did it, is comic relief. Again, easy, quick, affects your dopamine in your brain, helps with your mood. I bring up time management because it's the #1 stressor of college students. So I know Visions does a really good job with their FYE courses and teach about time management. If you can get time management down, that will be your best asset going forward. Because if you can manage that time, the stress level isn't going to be as high. Communication skills, why does that matter? It is not uncommon for me to meet with a student who tells me they're really in distress. They've had a really hard time because something happened and they didn't say anything about it. And they just kept it all inside. And so whether that's maybe they were talking or their parents were talking to them and they didn't view or voice their opinion. Maybe it was a professor asking questions, or they didn't ask the question that they need to ask in the class. So they sat with that, not knowing what to do, and that really bothered them. So the communication skills is truly learning that skill of how to communicate with another person in a calm fashion, so that your stress is relieved, so that you don't carry it all inside of you. Because it's one of the most common things I do see. Most of the time, it's a student who didn't speak up for themselves. They decided not to address it, but they keep thinking about it and thinking about it. And then it gets worse and worse and worse. So learning how to communicate what your needs are, using your voice, and like I said, in an effective manner is really a great skill to learn also. Information seeking is just trying to find out, okay, if I've got this problem, where do I need to go, or what do I need to do to solve it? And our students are great at getting online and finding out all the resources. You need to do that for everything. It will calm you down if you're able to find out the solutions. I talk about journaling quite a bit. Again, this is an easy one, and we're going to do one right now in a little bit of a twist, and that's called gratitude journaling. So this is a great one because many times when we journal, it's great to get all of our thoughts out on paper. Many times it can bring our anxiety down, but sometimes it can become very negative for us. So we want to help our brain switch over to a more positive outlook. And so one of the things we can do is gratitude journaling, or taking the time to be thankful. So I want you to just take a few minutes, if you happen to have a pen with you, paper, to write down 3 to 5 things that you are grateful for. And we'll just take a few minutes to do that. It can be a person, it can be a dog or a cat or an animal. It can be just something that happened to you. Maybe you're grateful that you found a parking lot space, which because of COVID, very easy to do now, wasn't always. But just anything that you can be grateful for. I'll give you guys a little bit of time to do that.
So you said 3 things to be grateful for?
Yes.
Well,
Or
I
more.
guess I think I'm just going to limit myself to 3. It'll take a while if it's more. I
That's
guess
great.
to say my dog, that's one.
Okay.
I had a decent amount of sleep. I mean, like I worked like pretty hard at night. I would say went around like till like midnight. But I woke up at like around 8 or 9. So that's,
Oh,
I
that's
guess I'm
good.
grateful for that.
Yep. Good.
I guess for the Zoom meeting, if only because my internet hasn't kicked me out the entire time. So the fact that I've been able to listen to this for like the past half an hour without it lagging, that's a miracle by itself right now. So I guess
Okay.
I'm grateful for that.
That's great. And those are the things that sometimes we have to look for. Maybe you are on this particular day and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to be grateful for. But yeah, I'm grateful I had the Zoom connection. I'm grateful I got the sleep. You know, it's a way to switch your mind so that it helps your mood. And so that's great. I'm glad you came up with those. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. And actually, Ian, you kind of answered this a little bit. How did you take care of yourself today? Or what is one thing you can do to take care of yourself today? I'll give you a minute for that. I just want to keep tabs of time. Okay.
Well, for how I took care of myself today, it's I've done some work today, but like not much because there's the Zoom meeting, and then I have that midterm appointment thing today as well at 3. So
Okay.
like I woke up like at around 8, had some breakfast. Only really started working at like 9:30, 10, mostly because like while I do work on Thursdays and Fridays, it's a lot more laid back and I do this because the other 3 days, like Monday, I have math class. Then Tuesday, I have another class. I don't have to leave my house for that, but it is like a Zoom class. This one wasn't so bad because for some reason it was canceled on Tuesday. Don't know why.
Okay.
But,
Well, I think one of the ways you took care of yourself was actually getting a good amount of sleep. That's taking care of yourself. So that's great. The next question is an act of kindness that I did for someone or will do for someone. Was there anything today that you just did an act of kindness for someone else? And you guys can think about that too. And there is a reason for these questions.
act of kindness. I mean, I can think of some I will most likely do just in general for this year to like today, like I tend to do some chores around the house for the rest of the family.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, come October, the fall months, I'm going to have to go outside to help my family with more chores because like with dead branches, leaves everywhere. Because my
Okay,
dad
so
has a back
that's an
problem.
act of kindness, right? Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good one. And we talked about what we're grateful for. So the reason why I asked you these questions is just like gratitude helps your mood. When we help others, and this is why volunteering does a lot for the people or the organization that we volunteer for, but it actually does a lot for us. So when we're kind to someone, it's great for that person who's the recipient, but it's also really good for us. It helps our mood. And so many times, again, these are small little things that just might help you during that day feel somewhat better. And those are the types of things that as a college student and being as busy as you are, these are the types of things that become more reasonable for you to do. I am going to skip some of that. Hey, how come that's not going? There we go. I want to get to some other things because of our time right now. So if you are looking for fast acting relief, try slowing down, and that's Lily Tomlin. And so what that means is taking the time to relax, and we're going to talk about that a little bit and what are some effective relaxation techniques. And so some of those is really, so it says a sense of physiological homeostasis, but it's really putting your body back in balance. That's what you're trying to do when you do these relaxation techniques. You shouldn't be so anxious and so stressed out all the time, but you also shouldn't be so relaxed that you're not moving. You want to put this in a balance. And so these relaxation techniques I'm going to talk about helps you do that. The first one is physical exercise, so moving your body. And we talked about that, the walking, or perhaps you like to lift weights, or maybe you bike or dance in your room, but whatever that is. We know yoga is great for us. Tai Chi, I'm going to be doing not Tai Chi, but the birth mother of Tai Chi, Qigong, in just a minute. Meditation, which is Qigong that I will be doing, is actually a moving meditation. And so what meditation is doing something repetitively that you are focused on. And so that's why it doesn't have to be that when we see videos, that's the mantra, but that doesn't mean that's what you have to do to meditate. Meditation could be you're on a walk and you're focused on how your feet hit the ground over and over and over again. And then you probably have all these thoughts. Oh, I got to study for my exam. Oh, when do I go to work? What does so-and-so think about me? And at that point, you just say, okay, those are all my thoughts, but I'm going to see if I can focus back to how my feet feel on the ground as I walk. And just by doing that, there's a little twist in your brain, which is very helpful and starts to work on that muscle to help you focus. So many people say, I can't meditate. I'm not focused at all. That's actually the person who should try it, because every time they go to focus back in, it's working on a muscle that will help them quite a bit. Diaphragmatic breathing, I'm going to talk to you about that. Progressive muscle. So many people, the breathing and all that doesn't really work, the meditation, they need something more physical. So progressive muscle is actually tensing up your muscles and then relaxing them. And so what happens, you start from your head down to your feet, and you tighten every single muscle, but then you relax it. It's a great one to do before you go to bed at night if you have problems sleeping. So if we have time, I will go over that. But if you go on YouTube for any of this, there's so much great stuff out there, and it's all free. That take advantage of it. Guided mental imagery, again, that's something I always used to do in my workshops. And actually, when we do Qigong, in a way, it's a guided mental imagery because we're going to use a lot of nature scenes with it. But guided mental imagery is really, and again, great stuff on YouTube, online, anywhere, is a scene that you imagine in your mind. And it's a place that is more calming. It could even be this picture, you know, you're on the water, you're on the ocean, and you're swinging in that hammock. And it kind of takes you out of your own true space and puts you somewhere else. You imagine it. And then during that time period, someone is talking to you and guiding you through what this imagery looks like, but also guiding you on what to do, whether that's taking a slow breath here, exhaling. So again, it's something, if you want to do any more of this, please come and see me and we can talk about it, but also just look for it, search for it online. And music therapy. Music is excellent. I put that in the category with listening to comedy. It works on the dopamine in the brain. It helps your mood. I do say to students, you know, if you're feeling really, you know, depressed, you really want to listen to Adele, but, you know, you choose your own music and whatever makes you feel good, but music does have that effect. And so that's a really great thing you can do, whether it's walking, whether it's you're driving someplace that you know you're going to be stressed out when you get there. Maybe you put that good music in to help you. And that's kind of what I did this morning. This is another great quote. I cannot and should not be cured of my stress, but merely taught to enjoy it. So that's when I talk about the goal is not to get rid of the stress. The goal for all of us is really to manage that stress. So I'm going to see if we can. See if I can make this happen. We are going to do Qigong. Has anyone ever done that before?
I have not.
You have not. Okay. So this is something that Qigong is the birth mother of the martial arts. So you might see this sometime in the movies when they are filming something in California or in a Eastern country. For me, I actually did go to China and got the opportunity to see people in the parks do this. So I'm going to back up a little. It's a very slow moving exercise. So it's something that it's so slow, you're like, I am way too slow doing this. But the slower you do it, the better it is. So what I'm going to do with you today is we're going to go through 6 movements. I'm going to do it to music because what I want to do is hit as many areas of your brain as I can. So we're going to have this visual imagery and you're going to be imagining it, and it's going to be talking about nature. We're going to add in the music because that's going to hit another area of your brain. And then we're adding in the movement, which is also hitting an area of your brain. We're also going to be doing something repetitive and focused. And so this is why it's really a moving meditation. So it's something I like to do with students because it doesn't take too long. And again, it's something you could do on your own. So I'm just gonna see if I can set my room upright. Of course, I had everything ready, but then I always say, is it gonna work? So I am gonna put music on to this. And the only thing, if you guys can let me know, is if you can hear the music. So just give me a thumbs up or shout it out if you can. Nope, I can't hear it. Okay, let's try this again. See, this is what happens and I can't get stressed about it. I have to take a deep breath. Okay, there we go. Can you hear that?
Slightly.
Yes?
Yes, just like nature sounds.
Okay, yeah. All right. I'm hoping it is going to work when I need it to work. But so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our chi on. So what I want you to do is just make a symbol like a triangle, and you are going to put it over your belly button. And I need to switch my view because I'm looking somewhere else and I don't like where I'm looking. All right. Okay. So you're going to take your triangle, you're going to put it over your belly button. And all I want you to do is just slowly breathe in and out. You don't have to do anything more than that. And so you're just slowly breathing in. You can do it through your nose. And then just exhale through your mouth. And I'm going to count, breathe in for 4. I'm going to tell you to hold it. You don't breathe at all. And then I'm going to tell you to exhale for 6. We always want to inhale less than what we exhale. And so I just want you to try that a couple times. So I just want you to breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you might be slightly out of breath after you exhale, and there's a reason for that, so that you take a bigger breath on your next one. So we're going to breathe in again, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all I want you to kind of focus on is just you're taking these slower inhales and slower exhales as we do this. So we're going to start. And the first thing we're going to do is, I switched myself out again. Can you hear me? Yes? I hope so. Yes? Thumbs up, something? Okay. You're gonna have your feet hip width apart. You hear that a lot in exercise routines. And just be relaxed. And you're gonna have your arms down by your side. See if I can get slightly bigger here. And this movement is called waving hands to the lake. So I want you to imagine there's a beautiful lake in front of you. And it's very calm. Maybe you're there in the early morning, or maybe you're there at dusk when no one's around. And you're gonna just wave to the lake. So your arms are down, and you're gonna slowly lift them up in front of you. So you can see me. So we're just going very, very slow. Just almost like that Frankenstein look. And when you get to the shoulders, you break your wrist very gently, and then you go back down. And we're gonna do that 2 more times. So when we come up, we might take that slow breath, breathe in, lift our hands up towards shoulders. We get to the shoulders, we break our wrists, and then we slowly exhale down. And all the while, thinking of this beautiful lake that's in front of us. And we'll do it 1 more time. Each movement is done 3 times. So you slowly raise your arms up as you inhale. Come to the shoulders. Break your wrist. And then exhale down. For the next move, this is called opening up my chest to the top of the mountain. So now you're on top of a beautiful mountain. You're looking out over the horizon. Maybe it's a blue sky, maybe you see the sunrise or sunset, but you're right on top of the world. And so you're going to start with the same movement, and you're going to slowly bring your arms up. But when you get to the shoulders this time, you want to open up your chest as you're looking out to the top of this mountain. And then you bring your arms back in. And down. We'll do that same movement again. And this time really try to visualize this beautiful, beautiful mountain. And as you bring your arms up, this is when you inhale. You're opening up your chest as you exhale. And inhale as you pull it in. Exhale back. We'll do this 1 more time. Inhale as you pull your arms up. Come to the shoulder and you open up your chest. You're seeing the beautiful sky in front of you on top of this mountain. And pull your arms in. Exhale down. And this next one is called Parting the Clouds. When I was a kid, I used to lay on my back and I used to visualize what the clouds look like. And so now what I want you to visualize is you're going to part these clouds so you can see this beautiful sky. So it's kind of like you take clown hands and all you do is you go in front of your face, very slowly with your hands. And you want to part the clouds so you can see this beautiful blue sky. And you come down. And then again. So breathe in here. next one, I want you to imagine there's just this rainstorm and there is this beautiful rainbow in the sky and it has all the vivid colors. And you want to grab onto it. You're going to hold this rainbow and you're going to have your right foot facing diagonally. Your left foot is straight ahead. And you're going to bend slightly to the right 3 times, but don't let the rainbow go. It's too beautiful and you want to make sure you have it. So you bend to the right. And again, you don't have to bend too far. And we'll do it again. And then one more time. And all we're going to do is still holding the rainbow. We're going to switch over to the other side. And we're going to do the same thing, but the opposite side to the left. So we're just going to bend slowly over. Next move is you're in front of the ocean, you're at the beach, and maybe again it's in the early morning, it's late afternoon, there's nobody around you, and you're just mesmerized by these waves. They're coming in and out. And so this is called pushing the waves. And so for this one, you're going to take your right foot and have that slightly ahead of you. You're going to take your arms and you're going to push down as your left heel comes up. And then you're going to pull that wave back in. And that's the move. We'll do it 2 more times on this side. So you're pushing the wave. And then you're pulling the wave back in. And you're pushing the wave. I'm going to add to it. I'm going to push out something that no longer serves me. I'm going to bring in what I need. And if you want to add your own after I do the first one, please do. So on the first one, I'm going to say, push out doubt and bring in confidence. Push out anger. Bring in forgiveness. Push out hate. And bring in love. And then we're to our final one, which I have to really visualize for this because I don't smell or taste. So this one is called picking up a bouquet of flowers. And so in front of you is this massive field with beautiful flowers. And you're going to kneel down and pick these flowers up from the ground into a bouquet. And you're going to smell them. This is where I need to visualize because they're so beautiful and they smell so sweet. So you start with your legs a little bit further apart. You're going to bend down as if you're picking up something from the ground. So you're not going to see me the whole time. Hopefully you can follow. So I'm going to slowly bend down. My knees are bending. And I'm going to come to the ground and pick up these flowers. And it's so beautiful. And I'm going to bring them up to my nose. And I'm going to smell how spectacular they are. And then I'm going to do it again. And then one more time. And then when we're done with this, we're just going to take our chi back. And I just want you to put it over your belly. And you can close your eyes. Feel relaxed. And just do some nice slow breaths. Inhale and exhale. did you think?
It seems pretty helpful.
Did it seem helpful? Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Okay. So, so again, that's something that doesn't take a lot of time. I don't know how much time it took us up. I'm at the end of my thing, but I think it took about 12 minutes or so. But that's something, if you like it, anything that you will do is the most important piece of this. You have to do it. You have to enjoy it, or else you're not going to keep doing it. So I always tell students, find something that works for you. So maybe it's the comedy, maybe it's listening to music, maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's doing this. But what you want to do it frequently. It doesn't have to take a long period of time. The more you do it, the more frequently you do it, the more your stress can become manageable. And I think the happier you're going to be. Okay, any questions?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I'm going to put my contact in the chat. So if you would like to get in touch with me, please do. Anything else, Sarah and Gaurav?
No, thank you, Krista and Ian, for attending. We appreciate you coming in. And thank you, Melissa, for taking the time to do this for us. I'm just going to put in another link in the box after Melissa's information. That's for feedback for us. If you wouldn't mind clicking on that, it shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes to fill out the form. It will disappear when we close this window. So if you wouldn't mind clicking on that and getting started on it, the sooner you do it, the sooner it'll be done.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.